What's up, YouTube and Facebook, and welcome back to Not Quite Mint. Welcome back to all our normal viewers and anyone that's brand spanking new. I've got Rich back. Yeah, woohoo!
My man. He thought I'd looked like I'd been on holiday, so I don't know if I've actually caught a bit of colour or something, but yeah, it's all a bit weird.
You're back.
And I've put on weight. And I've put on weight. So.
Not too bad. What are you supposed to do on holiday, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Eat.
So, guys, we are doing our key show again this week. It's Tuesday, so we're doing our key show. So we're going to run down our top 5 keys that we think you should pick up on the 29th of July, 2020. And we're also going to be spotlighting the Amazing Spider-Man, the old friendly neighbourhood one. So, yeah, should we get into it, Rich?
Yeah, let's get into it. Obviously, guys, if you are new to the channel, most important thing that you can do is obviously subscribe. Hit the little bell icon next to it, and that will give you forewarning of when we're about to go live and when we drop any new videos and stuff like that. Also, again, it's really important that you give us the thumbs up. One of the most important things that you can do as a subscriber and as somebody watching this video, do that. And always, guys, whatever's on your mind, like whatever you're reading or reviews and stuff like that, obviously just whack it down in the questions down below. And if you look just beneath where Tom is, we've got our social media. And make sure that you're obviously following us over there as well, and that's just a good way of keeping up to date with us. And if you want to contact us at any time, we're pretty active over there as well. And yeah, you've got Raggles. We haven't seen Raggles for ages. So yeah, so we're going to get into the keys of the week, and I think it's a pretty good week this week. To be fair, it's shaping up to a couple of good ones.
Yeah, we got a couple of good ones, but I think it's quite a light week for anything like loads of first appearances or anything like that. But yeah, so I picked number 5. I've put in, it was Wonder Woman 759, which is going to be the first appearance of Liar, and a brand new creative team for this one. So you've got Marioki Tamaki, who's going to be the writer, and then you've got David Marquez as the artist. So yeah, it could be quite good. If you're a Wonder Woman fan, it could be a good jumping on point for the old first appearance of Liar. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, again, as we've said before, when we've done key spotlights on Wonder Woman and stuff like that, I am not a Wonder Woman reader at all. So when we've looked at stuff before, and I think to this date, I've still only ever read one Wonder Woman book, which was the world famous Lovely book, because it's just like it was just the most softly written thing ever, and it was just I just didn't like it. Just yeah, but I don't know. As I say, in general, I know a very, very popular character for a lot of people. Not my cup of tea, but always interesting to see how a new sort of character is going to get picked up. Really, so Liar. I'm assuming it's a villain. Potentially.
I think so, mate. Yeah, he makes or she makes their first appearance cover in the next issue as well. But what I'm interested in is if you're interested in Wonder Woman and you want a good starting on point or a new starting on point, this is probably the best time to jump in because it's a brand new creative team. So they'll do everything brand spanking new, if you like. So it could be worth just jumping in just for that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's one of those, isn't it? You know, I don't know if the previous creative team had hit any criticism or was well received or anything like that. I actually haven't heard very much about Wonder Woman at all. So, so yeah, jumping on point. Yeah, go for it. It sounds really good. Not familiar with the writers though. I don't know what.
No, I don't know who Marioki Tamaki is. I've not come across that before, but I probably have, but not realised it. Because it's only since we've been doing all these keys and things, I've actually noticed the same writers popping up here and there. So yeah, I probably have already read this kind of stuff. But speaking of good writers, number 4, we're going in for Spawn, written and art by Todd McFarlane this time round.
Of course.
I've got the first appearance of appearance of Gunslinger Spawn, another reappearance of Gunslinger Spawn.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he had when Gunslinger Spawn first came about, because I know you've read a lot of like the earlier issues, haven't you, Tom? So is it something? Did he appear much earlier, or is he quite recent?
Do you know what? I think I jumped off around issue 200 and something when he was on the cover. So I don't know if it's a cover appearance and he's actually never made a complete debut in the comic. I don't know for sure. Because I stopped reading Spawn. I've still collected it, but I kind of stopped reading it. I don't really know why. I think it was because there was a massive gap of months where there was no Spawn comic. So I think I just stopped reading it. But yeah, I think I do have a feeling that he's been in it before, but my brain's kind of saying no, he was a cover appearance and he's not actually ever made his debut in the comic, whereas this is his appearance in the comic. So
well, I'm going to have a quick. Yeah, well, it's really difficult because I've just had a quick old look to see if I can Gunslinger Spawn. So he had a cam 100 issue 119 by the looks of it. So a long time ago, and then the first full appearance, I believe, by the looks of it, is 164. He was a friend of Al Simmons, and he's a friend of Al Simmons' great grandfather in the 19th century. So he's obviously, because he looks a bit like a cowboy, doesn't he? So
he does. Yeah, exactly. The whole Western idea.
Yeah, so yeah, no, it just when I read that it was Gunslinger Spawn, I was like, well, I've never read a Spawn book with Gunslinger Spawn in it. But I know that I've seen images of him, and so yeah, it just made me wonder how they'd introduced him. So he's obviously a friend of old Al Simmons' grandfather, which is always friendly.
That really makes me think about my collection now, because I must have jumped off Spawn after issue 109 then, because I never read 119 if he cameoed in it, because I'd have remembered that. So I must have stopped earlier and then continued to collect it till it got to issue 270 and then stopped. That's terrible.
Yeah, but it's a big gap, isn't it? I mean, if he had that cameo in that early and then didn't have his first full appearance till like almost 50 issues later, that's like that. You know, if one's coming every month, because how often do Spawn come out at the moment? Is it once a month still, or you know?
I think it's once a month now, but there was quite a time where it didn't come out for a couple of months at a time. But it comes out monthly now.
Yeah. I remember you saying before, I think when we did our Spawn key spotlight during lockdown, I think I remember you saying it was a real shame that they had such sort of distribution issues with those sort of Spawn books. So yeah, it's a shame. Yeah. I haven't watched the. Have you got to watch the Todd McFarlane documentary?
No.
Have you seen that yet?
No, I really want to, but for some reason I can't get the sci-fi thing to work on my computer. It won't let me watch it really in the US.
So yeah, I haven't. I'm desperate to try and watch it. So if I find a link, I'll that works, I'll have to send it over to you, mate.
Yeah, man. Did you watch the Alex Ross one?
I've seen. It's one of those ones that I think I saw the preview for it. It's like quite an extended preview, and I've listened to like lots about him in terms of like how he studies the anatomy and all of that kind of stuff. There was an interview on a Marvel trading cards group a couple of months ago, and they interviewed Alex Ross because he did some of the art on one of the sets they were showcasing, and it was very much to a lot of stuff that you'd spoke to me about, because obviously he's quite an inspiration for a lot of you and art over the years, and it was quite interesting hearing him just say about what his process is and how he got into it, and you know, like how he studied anatomy and used sort of took photos of himself in certain poses so he got proportions right and everything. Just fascinating stuff.
Yeah, he makes a really good comment in his documentary about how people unappreciate artists massively. So I thought that was pretty cool.
The ever struggling artist, eh?
Yeah, mate, it's good. Everyone just thinks it's easy. It's just paint by numbers.
Yeah, it's terrible. No, I know. I can't draw to save my life, so props to everybody who can.
Right, should we move on? Next one.
Yes, let's move on. So, which one do you want to do?
So I've got X Factor number 3, which actually is a first appearance this week.
Yeah.
So it's
again,
go on.
I'm looking forward to this one because obviously it's one of those ones where I've fell out of touch of the whole Dawn of X thing and everything like that. But I kind of feel that with everything that's going on and we're building up with Empire, and I really enjoyed X-Men, Fantastic Four, like sort of crossover with Franklin Richards ending up being an X in the X-Men and stuff like that. So I'm like, I kind of think because X Factor, I think, has tended to be a bit. It's there's X Factor and X Force, isn't it? So X Factor, is that like it's X Force that's a bit more grown up, isn't it? And then X Factor's a bit
more like blood and guts, yeah.
Yeah. So like with this one, I was sort of like thinking, well, could this be one of those like middle road type of teams that you could, sort of again we're talking about jumping on points. Is this a really jumping on point?
Oh, I would say it would be a very good jumping on point. It's issue 1. It's written by Leah Williams, who's amazing. I think the art is by Ivan Sharvrin. But it's the first team appearance for this particular team of X Factor. But I didn't realise that it's got Daken in it. So it's not going to be all cute and cuddly because Wolverine's son is in this team. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I mean, it's one of those. Are we saying that we're going to read this one?
Maybe. It's on my maybe list. But there's a few comics that aren't actually issued as keys this week that I'm more interested in reading. There's 2 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that come out. There's a one-shot and the next follow-on issue. So I'm more interested in reading them, to be perfectly honest. But this is a key, and I'd pick it up because it's a key, to be fair. And it's the first appearance of this particular team. You've got North Star, Polaris, Prodigy, iBoy, Daken, and Prestige.
Mm-hmm. Again, not characters I'm familiar with, other than Daken. I've heard of obviously Daken, but yeah, I'm not.
Polaris is Magneto's other daughter. She used to date. I think that's her in the green up here.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I kind of like the whole the Strange Academy introduction and type of thing. So it'll be interesting to see like this sort of like young, but like obviously X-Men sort of mutant team. So yeah, I think this is one that was sort of probably out of all the ones this week was probably one of my sort of top picks to have a read purely because it's number 1 again, and because I haven't got like that big X-Men encyclopedic knowledge, whether it's something that would actually introduce me to that world a little bit better.
I think if you wanted to jump in on a new team that's got nothing to do with anyone else you've ever read before, I would probably say this was your jumping in point, mate. Because apart from Polaris and Daken, I'm not really sure on any of the characters. So they've probably got a bit of cannon fodder. So there could be some deaths. There could be some added extra characters. They could be exploring how Daken is struggling with, being a good guy. I don't know. They could do a lot of ththings with it, this X Factor, to be fair.
Sounds good to me. As I say, the stuff that I've read and the fact that it was, a first team appearance, and it just seems like the amount of like new teams that are coming out at the moment is just so widespread. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, X-Men are kind like, without being rude, I think X-Men are amazing, and I'm reading all the other titles, like pretty much all the tie-in titles. I do think they're slightly saturating the market with so many X-Men comics, but I love it. That's not a criticism. I like the fact that there's a lot of X-Men comics to choose from, and you've got this Sword of X coming up, or Sword of Creation that's about to happen. I think it's all gonna explode. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's some really cool crossover stuff coming up, isn't there? And there's because the X-Men stuff's like kind of higher a little bit as well, isn't it? I think so. There's everything's just
I think
so.
Comes out this week, and that crosses over into Empire of X-Men. Cool. So that
I
leads
like
us
the
into
sceneries.
2 and 1. What, 2 and 1? So which one do you want to do it, mate? Which one do you want to do first?
Shall we finish with do Captain Marvel next? Shall I?
Okay,
Shall I
cool.
bring that up?
Yeah. Cool. So Captain Marvel issue 18, this is, and it is the first kind of wielding of the hammer for Carol Danvers. So she's actually been given the hammer. If you'd have read issue 2 of Empire, she gets given the Accuser's hammer, and this is her wielding it. But also, Rich, did you know there's a first appearance in this comic?
Yes, there is. It is the sister-in-law, isn't it, of Carol Danvers? It's the album for Captain Marvel. So yeah, we do actually have a proper first appearance in this. So could be quite interesting.
I believe it's her because she's part Kree. So I think it's her. I don't know if it's her mum or her dad that's Kree. So this half sister is going to be that part of her, that she's going to be a Kree warrior. And I think it's got something to do with, or she will have something to do with this next issue, and issue 20, when Carol Danvers puts the Accusers together, because there are a couple of characters on that front cover I don't recognise. So this is that particular character. We haven't. Is it Laura L?
Yeah, Laurie L. So yeah, so
because she's worth it.
Yeah. Well, I read that and I thought, oh, you know, because like obviously you have like Superman and the whole like Kal-El and all that type of stuff, and I was like thinking that's a bit tight, that's a bit close. That is. So they ran out of names. How's your mum in? You all right, Emma?
Oh, my mum's always here.
Yeah, mum's here. Checking you're behaving yourself.
Not swearing.
Not swearing. No, cool. But yeah, so it's quite an interesting key at the moment. As you say, there's quite a few interesting books coming out that are worth reading, and obviously are tying into big events and stuff. But yeah, in terms of like, you know, actual key potential type of stuff, obviously you've got, you know, this is probably the best true first that we've probably got this week, isn't it?
I would say so. I mean, looking back, you've got Liar in Wonder Woman, but you don't know where. I mean, that might be like some other of the first appearance characters that in the DC universe where they don't ever, you know, come to fruition of anything really, apart from the joke, like the Batman Who Laughs. I mean, never thought that was gonna just die on its arse, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And then you've got Gunslinger Spawn in Spawn, which is not really a first appearance because he's already appeared elsewhere. And then you've got the first appearance of the X-Force team, but then they've had first appearances before those particular characters. So yeah, I think you're right. I think this is the first proper brand spanking new character that no one's ever seen before or heard of until actually last week when they announced it was going to have a first appearance in it. So yeah, it should be quite interesting, this one.
Yeah, hopefully it is. But as I say, we are kind of like getting behind this whole Empire event, aren't we? I suppose if we move on to our sort of main one that we want to kind of talk about, and I think the reason why I'd be saying to people to pick up the Empire books, there's a million tie-ins, so maybe don't go mad wasting all your money. But if you keep on the core main Empire event, things are being explained quite well about what's happening elsewhere, isn't it? But I think is it going to be a 6-part series in total?
Yeah, 6-part series in total, and this is obviously issue 3 that comes out this week. Did you get a chance to read issue 2 while you're away?
I've got it, and I'm going to read it as part of this week's reading. So
excellent. I'd really like to bounce some ideas off you on that one, because I don't want to spoil or anything, but I felt like first issue went like that, and then issue 2 went like that. I'm really hoping issue 3 is going to go like that. I don't want it to go like that. I don't with a drop.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I'm gonna read it as I thought. I've picked it up. I went obviously in rather than pick them all up on all together on Wednesday. I thought let's go and see what they've got. Picked it up. I've got it on my reading pile ready for this week, and I want knowing that they're doing this weekly release of these main Empire titles. I thought I've got to pick that up, and I'll read it in conjunction, and I'll tell you whether we get to whether it's an upward curve all the way or whether we get to issue 3 and it's downhill. I'll be watching.
Yeah, I agree with Geeky Guy. I was massively into War of the Realms. I was huge into that. I thought it was brilliant, but I feel like Empire could go that way, but it's taken a little time to kind of take off, I think. But
yeah, I wasn't particularly interested about Empire, and I think the way I can like sum it up, like I think, and Tom will probably agree that we're more excited about what's happening in like say like Thor and the Venom book, as everybody else is on that. But with Empire, I wasn't that interested until they really, I think it came out in the previews thing where they had the Empire's End book, that then you've got Null on the cover of Empire, this Empire's End one shot that they're doing. So it's, and again, I was saying like last time, wasn't I, when Thor pops up in issue 1, as it is that I've read, I said to you, he's in his current get up, as if like, you know, with what he's like off gallivanting with Black Winter and Galactus and stuff. So for me, I think anybody who maybe doesn't read Empire might miss out on things like with what's happening in Thor and what's going to happen with Null, and then what's going to happen ultimately with that King in Black. And you know, this, because obviously we've got like the Web of Venom Wraith book coming out as well soon, and yeah, I think this is going to go sort of full circle with the rest of like the Marvel books and really come together.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
totally agree.
Yeah, like Geeky Guy says there, Venom is off the chart, amazing, and I'm invested.
Do you know why though? Do you know why I think Empire is falling short, and anything else that I'm reading is tending to fall short? It's because Venom and Thor are so good. It's making me, anything I read opposed to it is making me go, well, it's not as good as that. But I think what's going to happen is eventually you're going to want to go back and read Empire in its entirety, and it then might be a little bit better than it is now once Thor and Venom has started to slow down a little bit. That's if they ever slow down, because Donny Cates is not the sort of person that slows down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when everybody has that Christmas present of spending loads of money on and buying all the Null books, and then in this King in Black, he goes and gets killed off, and he never comes back again, and everybody's crying into their coffees over losing loads of money on speculating on the Null books. But do you know what I mean? It's yeah.
You said to me a few months back when we were talking about the death metal, or I read some. I actually think you said it, but I might have read it as well. But a villain is never dead because they're only as good as like what they've created, as it were. So you can always bring a villain back. If people love him that much, they'll bring him back. But I can't remember the exact quote that you did. It was really good, actually. I'll have to go back through the videos and find it.
There's a lot of videos to watch, mate. I won't bother. But yeah, it's that basic idea that in comic books nobody's ever dead. I think that's probably what along the lines of what I said. So whether it's a hero or whatever, they're always going to bring somebody back. So I've heard rumors today that they're going to be doing a big Riddler storyline in Batman as well, and he's going to be like another. They're going to bring him back to the fore. There's all these things. I know like the Riddler's not dead, but and we did have him a little bit in this run. But yeah, it's like everything goes swings and debates, doesn't it? And I mean, you can't tell me that Marvel's not looking at all the stuff that's going on with Venom and Null and all of that, and then they're not going to try and like, you know, proper like cash pony this one, you know, till everybody can't, you know, everybody gives up really. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I think Empire. I think if people aren't going to read that main sort of thread of the six books, I think they're going to be maybe missing out when we get to all this King in Black stuff. I really do.
I agree. I think by the time I have a theory that by this whole Empire thing is going to keep going, and this Celestial Messiah is going to get to the point where the Avengers is going to beat him, or get to the point where he's almost going to be beaten. And I have a theory that he's going to be the next thing to take on a symbiote. And I feel like that's how it's all going to kick off, and Null's going to end up, because he's going to just rock up this Celestial Messiah is going to be slightly beaten because of the Avengers, and he'll just take whatever Null's got just to take him down, and it's going to be like the King of Black is just going to be that. It's just going to be Null taking over everybody. The Marvel Universe,
and again, I think I totally think that. I mean, it's like what I've said. If you read in Venom, we know that Null is coming to Earth. We know that the Celestial Messiah and all the stuff that's cracking off there is happening on the moon, which happens to be right next door to Earth. We know that Null likes to chop the heads off of Celestials. Do you know what I mean? You only have to start kind of going each stretch along the way. We know that Wraith at some point is going to be making an appearance, and he is obviously going after. He obviously has a big thing where he wants to obviously bring Null down a peg or two. So everything, when you start putting the pieces together, it is all starting to fit together for me. So I think it's quite exciting, even though I wasn't excited at the start, definitely.
Yeah, it's just going to keep. I think it's going to keep. It's going to be I think. Excuse me for wiggling all over myself. I think Empire is going to be a slow burner at the moment. But I want to talk to you about issue 2 because I don't want to give it too much away. So I want to see what you think of issue 2 before we,
watch this space on Thursday, everybody, and we'll thrash it out when we've got to read that next one, definitely.
Well, yeah, I'll read issue 3. You can read issue 2 and 3, and then we'll have a chat about it.
Yeah, definitely, we'll do that.
Yeah, right.
Makes sense.
This is what people came here for. Let's do the spotlight job.
Yeah,
the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So I completely forgot to get any costs and things on this. I got just too excited about reading them. So his first appearance is obviously Amazing Fantasy issue 15. Rich, can you tell us when it came out? Do you know any costs on this one? All I know is
I'm going to put a guess out there that I think it was around about 69, something like that. But I will have a quick check. But I mean, because his first appearance was in Amazing Fantasy, but wasn't his second appearance actually in Spider-Man issue 1?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So
there's a standalone story in this one.
I found this one because we have read this issue, and I think obviously most comic book fans have, and we will explain why we've read this one in another video that will be coming out. But yeah, it was looking at it date wise. It was a lot earlier than I thought. It was actually 1962. So
wow, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So yeah, and obviously powerhouse of a book, origin of Spider-Man, first appearance and death of poor old Uncle Ben.
He gets his first appearance in comic books, and then they kill him straight away. See you.
Yeah, and then you've got obviously Aunt May and Flash Thompson. So all characters. I mean, Uncle Ben died in the first issue, and he's still like one of the most probably, I don't know, well-known, understood characters in the whole of in Marvel Comics.
Well, his words in this book, in the origin of the origin of Spider-Man in this, and it's never changed as far as I know. His origin has never changed really from how it originally was written in this book. And the fact that he says to him, with great power comes great responsibility, is something that we still talk about in 2020. I mean, as if they wrote that and it's now become part of everyday life. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's one of those, and I mean, it's as I say, like I'll never get closer than obviously the facsimile edition that I've got up at the back there, but it's one of those iconic things, isn't it? And just Spider-Man, who would have ever thought back then we'd be talking about him now? Because I mean, you mentioned about values and stuff like that, and to be honest, I've got to be honest, I think quite recently, I think one has sold for around about the 2 million mark, something like that. Obviously graded. I'm not sure what it was graded to, but people have said that if they actually had that same book go on the market now, because it was a couple of years ago when the most expensive one sold, they reckon that it would be over like £3 million £5. Like it'd just be absolutely mental. So it's a really difficult one to talk about. Values. I mean, we've seen. I sometimes send. Well, we send each other links, don't we? Of like whenever we spot one of these on eBay or something, and we've seen like really poor copies, like raw, selling for around about like the £9,000 mark, and you know, it's you know, you can pick one of these up for the price of a family car, but
yeah, I mean, there was one I saw on eBay with no cover, half the pages missing, and it was selling for like £5,000.
That's what.
Who's got £5,000 to buy half a comic? But I suppose the other thing you've got to remember about this comic, despite the fact that it's going to cost you £2 million for a full original copy, is it's not just the value of the money for this one; it's the value of the content that you get, of what it means to people. Like Amazing Fantasy is like one of the most iconic comic books in history, alongside Action Comics issue 1 and Batman, the Detective Comics. They're like some of the most iconic books because they birthed what we have now. So you're not just paying £2 million for a comic; you're paying £2 million for history, if you like.
That's definitely. Yeah. It's, and again,
I definitely wouldn't buy it.
No, and I mean, like, you know, like I look at comics, and it's part because I've always been involved in collectibles and stuff like that. I look at comics as much as like investments, as much as you know, enjoyable reading material. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of like that's what I think, you know, people don't quite get, that concept that you could go out and buy, I don't know, a 5.0 Amazing Fantasy tomorrow, and in all likelihood, in 10 years' time, it's going to be worth a hell of a lot more than what you'll have paid, you know, today. And that's the way that these types of books go. Do you know what I mean? Silver Age books is just ridiculous. Yes, well, spoiler.
Yeah. Imagine if back in the day that you bought this for 12 cents in America, or even like 12p in the UK, and you put it away for a rainy day and you thought, oh, I'll read that, and never read it, never got round to reading it. And it came out of your box and it's now 2020 and it's worth £2 million. I mean, how much of a shock would that be if you knew nothing about the values of comics and it was just a random one that you bought? I mean, we could be sitting pretty on something now that in 20 years' time is going to be worth exactly the same amount. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy how these kind of things go.
Yeah, I mean, like,
go on.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and it's not one of the books we're going to obviously talk about, but you mentioned all the hype that's going on, like say around like Miles Morales and stuff like that. Yeah. There's every possibility that in 30 years' time could be just like Amazing Fantasy, but
because of what it represents, that the first appearance of Miles Morales in Ultimate Fallout 4 is going to be our generation's Amazing Fantasy. Because it's our generation's Spider-Man. If you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm 100% behind that. I think it's a very, very important book. I think culturally as well, like, because well, this is what we're going to kind of move into now, because obviously the key that I want to sort of talk about, and again, it goes back to a little bit what I've mentioned there, is that like Ultimate Spider-Man #1 is mine. I have got this is a bit of a plug for a future video, but up there I have got a 9.4 CGC Ultimate Spider-Man 1. However, keep your eyes peeled on the channel, guys, because me and Tom, we've got 25 books back from CGC that we're going to be opening up and showing to you guys on over the weekend, aren't we? So we're going to open up
9.8,
and then and I've actually got in there my original Ultimate Spider-Man #1. And I've sort of had this conversation with Tom numerous times. Like, I've had probably like 4 separate bursts of actually collecting comic books. So my first comic that I ever bought was Death of Superman comic books. And then my second burst was when I wanted to get into Spider-Man books around obviously when Ultimate Spider-Man came out. And because that was the #1 book, that was what I bought. Because I didn't understand about Spectacular Spider-Man, Webber's Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, or whatever. Ultimate Spider-Man was where like the interest was at the time, because it was
because it was a new series, because it started with issue 1 and it was Brian Michael Bendis and he rewrote the origin slightly, I believe. And he rewrote the history of Spider-Man.
Yeah, so
I think you're right, mate. I think it's a very good
so
job.
I started collecting this around about the time when I was in university, and it's the only comic book run that I can attest to actually like being darn on complete to having it. I think I've got all the way up to, I think, 230 there or thereabouts, like all of the single issues, and it's one of those ones where that a lot of them aren't worth anything because it's like you say, the rewriting, it's this alternate universe, it's the ultimate universe, and so like a lot of things aren't first appearances, or they're like, you know, first appearance of like Ultimate Venom and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a funny one, but it's my aim to basically pick up where I left off and fill in all the gaps. Like, so that was, you know, what we were going to be doing, going to comic book shops and comic cons and stuff all this year. It was going to be my thing. So you know, it's, I wouldn't say like Ultimate Spider-Man's one of my grails, but whatever the grade I've got on that, and I don't think it'll be a 9.8 because it was a well-read copy, but hopefully I do think, because I had it pressed and cleaned, if it could be a bit higher than that, if it's a 9.4 or above, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's not a massively expensive book either. I think a 9.8 is going to cost you around about the £200 mark, something like that, possibly. But it's not a vastly expensive book, but it means a lot to me. Again, it was one of those ones that where I've completed so much of the run. You know, a funny time in my whole existence, you know, when I was in my early 20s and stuff like that. And, you know, not to go on about that, but it was like just, you know, it was one of those things that has always stuck with me, you know, as being like a real key kind of comic book run. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel the same about Ultimate X-Men, mate. Because and it's so cool that you can say my Ultimate Spider-Man run is complete. Like, I have all 130 issues. I think that's great, because it's not like you can say I have all 100 or 700 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, because the first 100 are worth millions of pounds.
And that's exactly what I was going to say to you. Like, you know, like whilst I've started collecting, obviously Superman, when I was like, you know, early teens, it wasn't until I started buying Ultimate Spider-Man. And again, I've got, I think, the first 50 issues of Ultimate X-Men. But it's like that was my kind of like era where I actually got the passion for comics. So yeah, it was one of those, just one of those times, really. And that's where this came from. And again, much like yourself, you talk about investments and costs of comic books and stuff. You probably like you sub what 200 Amazing Spider-Mans. There's so many keys in there and stuff. They are like, you know, to get good quality copies, even reader copies on some issues are like 20-30 quid, aren't they?
I think sub 300, mate. You're looking really. I mean, even 300 is hard to get hold of at a reasonable price. I mean, you're talking £50 ish for 300, and then below. It's the same. Actually, even after 300, like 3661, which is the first appearance of Carnage, is silly expensive. It's just not an easy run to complete. So how lovely is it that you can say, I've got a full run of the Ultimate Spider-Man, including the first appearance of Ultimate Venom, first appearance of Ultimate Carnage. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got all those first appearances. And I actually really like the version of the Green Goblin in this comic. I prefer it to the original, mainly because he becomes a big green goblin. I think that's amazing. I love that about it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite. It's one of those. As I say, I'd never. Me and you talk a lot about books that we want to keep, or, you know, would you ever flip this book? And like, there's a lot of books that I don't have that emotional connection to, but there is no way that I will ever sell my Ultimate Spider-Man's. 100%. That is like, if there's going to be a collection for me, as I say, I want to pick up all of the Miles Morales books. I want to collect all of the Miles Morales Spider-Mans and stuff like that. That's what, you know, that for me, it will be my lifetime run. I think that's what I'll be. That's what I'll be.
It's the same for me, mate. I really want to fill in. I've got Ultimate X-Men from issue 1 to 100, but I'm missing issue 2 and 3 because my issue 1 is 1, 2, and 3. It's like a collector's thing. So I'd like to get issue 2 and 3, just complete the run, but I would never sell it because it's got all the first appearances of my favorite characters from the X-Men universe, like Colossus and Nightcrawler, because I'm never going to be able to. Well, I might one day get a giant size X-Men, but I'm probably going to have to sell everything else I own, including my liver, to get one.
We'll get you there, Tom. Trust me, we'll get you there. I'm really confident we'll get there. I am.
Mate. One day
we will. Right then, mate. Do you want to move on?
While we're talking about sentimental value of comic books, my Spider-Man key is issue 1 of Spider-Man, which came out in 1990, and it's the Torment run. It was written and art was done by Todd McFarlane, who actually is my hero when it comes to artwork. And I got this book when I was younger. My mom got it for me, and she also got me the poster. I actually don't know what happened to my original version of this comic. I think it probably got destroyed or read far too much. But my mom got me this off the back of me having the Spawn Bible and getting all the Spawn comics because Todd McFarlane became my hero, and I wanted it so bad. But I was lucky enough at Collectors Assemble and previously Comic Connections to get me a black and silver version of this comic. So I'm really chuffed with that. But yeah, this is a key because it's written by Todd McFarlane. The cover's by Todd McFarlane. The cover is quite a unique cover that has now become so popular. There's so many homages to it. And I actually got mine to show you in a second of the homages I've got of this book. But it was a record-breaking book when it came out. And Marvel couldn't believe how the popularity of Todd McFarlane came from just doing this particular book. It became record-breaking. They did a second print, third print, fourth print. They did lots of different covers. You've got the black one. You've got one that's completely black. You've got this one on here, which is the original first cover. You've got a gold one, I believe.
Gold.
Really good, yeah. I never read it. I did read it when I was younger, but I couldn't remember the story, so I haven't read it since then. So I cracked this copy open and read it. I forgot how gritty and actually quite dark it is. I mean, there's the lizards in it, and he's on a murdering spree. Spider-Man has no idea. He's a bit like la-di-da and all in love with Mary Jane. In all fairness, I think what Todd McFarlane does is kind of bring a horror aspect to Spider-Man in this book, which I couldn't remember and I didn't expect. But it nicely leads on to Spawn. I have to be honest.
I was going to say.
It works so well how dark this book is, because you actually get to see the lizard rip a couple of people to pieces, like actually to pieces, and there's blood splatters on the page and all sorts. So it's a little bit barbaric in places, but it's a great comic, brilliantly written by Todd. He puts Peter Parker in this kind of arrogant, know-it-all kind of stage because he's talking to Mary Jane. He's just had a fight with a punk. He calls him a punk in the street who's trying to shoot him. He stands in front, takes the bullet, like breaks the gun, and he's like, you know, I've tussled with Thanos, the Hulk, this person, that person. You know, I've saved I've fought Galactus. How does this guy? How do you think you can fight me? Like, you're just a normal, regular Joe. Comes across really arrogant, and I do like that. But equally, it's not quite the Spider-Man that I know and love because it's a little bit too dark. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. And it opened my whole world. I mean, this one is what started me off on my art career, to be fair, this book.
Fair play. I mean, it's like that sort of image in the bottom corner there of Spider-Man's face. I mean, if you kind of like, you know, draw a line almost, or just do it as like almost like a black silhouette, it's very, very Spawn-like as well, isn't it? If you take out the big Spider-Man eye, that silhouette's very Spawn.
Do you know, well, on issue 13 of this run, he did him in the black Spider-Man suit.
That's right, yeah.
So, and obviously with the red spiders rather than the black spiders, so almost like he's got blood splatters, but it's not. But one of the most controversial things is during the time Spawn came out, Spawn became so popular by the time it got to issue 8.
Yeah.
Todd McFarlane took a swing at Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? Awesome.
And then,
yeah, I just I mean, I'm a big fan of Todd McFarlane anyway, so yeah.
These are me homage covers. So I've got Spawn 231.
Yeah.
I've then got Spider-Geddon issue 1.
Yeah.
Spider-Geddon issue 1, but the not so black and metallic-y one.
Yeah.
I've got Secret Wars, and it's Miles Morales.
Yeah, I like that one. That's cool.
I've got my CGC J. Scott Campbell Black Cat.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And then I treated myself, after selling pretty much all my Spawn collection, to this bad boy, which is a 9.8 Spider-Man Torment signed by Todd McFarlane, just there. And then just here, don't know if you can see it, I got Stan the Man Lee as well.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
So really chuffed with that. Only didn't set me back much, but it's now worth a fortune, which is great.
Yeah, I've seen that go for mad money, like recently, definitely. Very, very nice.
But that's it. That's my Torment collection.
Yeah, you've got a rather nice print, haven't you, as well? On you.
Yes, I do. My Glee or Gluey or Glee.
Glycey, I think isn't it?
Glycey, yeah.
Glycey, yeah. Which
is signed by Stan Lee. It cost me every comic book I owned at the time, but it's now worth 10 times more money than they were, which is extremely cool, to be fair. And it's up on my wall. I will definitely take a picture and put it up on the Instagram so you can all see it.
But yeah, it's as I say. I mean, that for me, you talking about that book, I know how much that imagery means to you. So like, I can vouch to everybody out there that is Tom's Spider-Man book, 100%. But yeah, so yeah, we've covered all of our keys, haven't we? So as I mentioned earlier on, that obviously we will be back doing our reviews on Thursday. So same time on Thursday, 6 o'clock, we'll be doing our weekly review show. And then, as I say, afterwards we'll be recording our opening of this box. It is still sealed from CGC. I will be recording that video to go out at the weekend. So make sure that you're hitting, obviously, subscribe, hit the dingly bell thing so that you know when that video hits. If you want to see a 25 CGC slab unboxing, yes, we're going to do it. So do come back and make sure that you check all of that out and follow us on the social media as well, because we'll be putting little bits and bobs up there as well. So anything you want to add in there, Tom?
Well, I was going to say, guys, I mean, we spotlighted on Spider-Man tonight. So if you have any Spider-Man keys that you think are extremely valuable to you as a person, not necessarily a valuable comic in itself, but one that you believe is your favorite Spider-Man comic, hit us up in the comments below. Let us know what is your favorite comic books. What is your favorite Spider-Man comic book? And because we would be very much interested to see what is personal to you as well. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Love it. So, and on that note, guys, as I say, make sure you come back and see us on Thursday and subscribe so you don't miss our unboxing video. Obviously, subscribe, hit that like button, and just take care till next time.
See you.